Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fumbling Gurus. This is week one of Wild Card Weekend. So we'll get to some of the picks, let you know who we think is gonna survive the weekend. And first, we'll kick it off. Of course, myself, Sick Stomach, hosting this week. We also have the one and only Dolphins fan, Sensational. Welcome, Finn.
What up? Hello, hello. Hi, I made it. I'm alive. I'm here.
And then, unfortunately, we also have G-Man, whose team, uh, they made it to the playoffs, but that's probably as far as they're going to get. G-Man, if you'd like to say hello.
Hey, how you doing?
We're just going to kick right into it this week, aren't we? All right.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, we have some items planned today, so we'll jump into a little bit of the news from the last week or so, which mostly involves a lot of people having a summer break, a winter break, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll jump into some of our picks and some of the upcoming games for the weekend. Um, so we'll kind of kick it off with some of the head coaching spots. Quite a few opened up this season. I don't necessarily always follow how many head coaches have been let go, but it does seem like there's quite a few this year. Um, we're going to kick into probably all of the different teams and maybe our thoughts on most of them. But one of the things that stood out for me was uh, with I believe it was the Texans and Miami both firing the head coach. That leaves only one black head coach in the NFL right now. So there's a lot of talk about that, and I know we've talked about it before on the podcast of the opportunities there and what's being seen. But it was interesting to me that that also was one of the items. I know Flores from Miami has gotten some more interviews. Finn, maybe we can jump into that first. I saw this week the Texans have already flown him out for an interview, and he's trying to, you know, there was talk of Watson also liking him and wanting him as the head coach, essentially being the reason he was considered Miami. So yeah, Finn, if you want to kick us off with Miami's position right now, and then also Flores potentially moving to the Texans.
Absolutely. So, right out of the gate, I want to be very clear that Brian Flores being fired was a kind of a surprise move that made sense. If you were outside looking in, you're going two winning seasons back to back. What happened? Well, I'm going to tell you what happened. He does not maintain relationships well. We know this based off of a handful of incidents. Kyle Van Noy came in as a friend, he left as an enemy. He brought in Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell made it 2 weeks and then he quit for health reasons. After a year, Caldwell wanted to get back in the NFL. There were lots of reasons. I'm kind of go over this quickly. He had a tough time maintaining a relationship and it apparently had deteriorated with the offensive coaches, offensive players. The GM and him have not spoken in several weeks, and ultimately it was a relationship thing, not a product on the field. Flores was a winning coach. Flores was a good coach. Flores was an a-hole, and I am putting quotes around that because that is what people have said about him.
Hmm.
The biggest question that he is going to get asked is what staff are you going to be able to put together? He struggled. He went through four offensive line coaches in 3 years. He went through four offensive coordinators in 3 years. He had a constant revolving door, and a lot of that stemmed from this inability to maintain a positive relationship. Now, he is out, and what are the Dolphins going to do is going to be interesting. They have been bringing on three guys with that have failed as head coaches at one spot and are coming back as a second time attempts at head coaches, and that's not a bad thing. Belichick failed at his first stop and is successful now. Bruce Arians, that's not a bad thing. They're also looking at a lot of offensive coaches. Brian DeBall, Buffalo's offensive coordinator. They're looking at San Francisco's McDaniels, who is a offensive line coordinator, playbook guy, basically an offensive coordinator, but doesn't call plays. And so it's going to be interesting which route they take. Brian Flores and the Texans is interesting. Brian Flores in Chicago is interesting. Those are two teams that seem to be honing in on Flores. He will have a market because he's a winning coach. He's not going to keep Deshaun Watson at the Texans. It has been widely reported that it doesn't matter who the coach is. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. He does not want to deal with their owner. He is done with them. Over. Goodbye. See you later. I'm out. He also has 22 allegations against him, so he's still very much a lot of teams staying away from him, including Miami. We'll see where that goes. The black coaches was interesting because that is one of the things that a lot of guys are talking about is what's happened. There's been this big push from the NFL to hire minority coaches and minority GMs, and there just aren't any of them. I mean,
Mm,
the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin is the only current black head coach available. And some of these black coaches, such as the Texans head coach, was fired after just 1 year. Brian
mm,
Flores fired after 3 years. Black coaches are known to have a shorter leash than other coaches, than coaches that are white. And the chance of them getting a second coaching stint is less than what it is for white coaches. So it's going to be interesting to cycle how it goes about with that. I believe it's now 7 head coaches that have been fired. I want to say that's about league average every year. I want to say about four to 6 coaches seem to be fired every year.
yeah. Well,
You know
there's
what?
eight this year.
8 this year. Okay, so maybe a little bit above normal, but still not a ridiculous amount. I mean, you look across the league. You had an extra playoff spot available this year.
Mm,
You had the extra game, and a lot of teams just were straight up bad, and that's going to get you fired.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you had said. That was one thing, at least one of the things I read this week with Flores is, not necessarily all the tumultuous relationships, but like him and Tua, him and a lot of the players just did not get along. There was reportedly a huge fight between him and Tua right before he left, which kind of almost triggered some of this. I'm sure is in the works before that, but yeah, I mean, like you're saying, if you can't get the team behind you, if you can't get your coaching staff behind you and make this successful team, why would I want you as a head coach? So it'll be interesting. I know, it's like you said, it's early in his career. I think he has to define that and build that and determine that for himself. We'll see if he gets the opportunity to keep doing that.
I would like to say about the relationship between him and Tua from reports that I've read on Twitter and through people that are connected to the Dolphins. It's been that they had a working relationship.
Hmm.
That it was not worse than what other relationships are with coaches and quarterbacks.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily don't I wouldn't look too much in it. It was Tua versus Flores. It was the fact that Flores had issues with an abundant of coaches and abundant of players.
Hmm.
Guys who were deemed his friends were leaving this organization ticked at him. I mean, that is the reality that was there. It wasn't just the Tua situation. It was again Kyle Vanoy. We had an offensive line coach that quit like 3 weeks after being hired. The offensive coordinators constantly leaving. Coaches not wanting to interview. There was more to it. And
Hmm.
that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of times people overlook that if you're making the playoffs, if you're getting to, I mean, when I look at some of those situations, I think of John Gruden, the mentality that he always put forth, at least for the media, for the team. It seemed like he was one of those, like you said, a-hole coaches that you brought. It's probably not the most fun environment to be in, but you're winning games, but you're getting to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe if he starts pulling off those wins, it'll turn some of those around. But not saying he hasn't been winning, but getting to the Super Bowl, start having some of those momentous occasions. Um,
I think I think there's a fine line between being a hard-nosed coach that you get with a Belichick, a Coughlin, uh,
hmm,
a Gruden, etc., and a guy who's just straight up disrespectful. I mean, some of the reports that are out there is that he treated his offensive coaches like they were 5-year-olds. There's a beat reporter, Omar Kelly. He covers the Dolphins, and he said, "Look, I've been here since like Jimmy Johnson, Nick Saban, through this whole list of head coaches." And he goes, "The only one who ever straight up disrespected me was Flores."
Hmm.
So it's not even just that he was a hard-nosed, do it my way guy. It was that he was just a straight up jerk. I mean, when I'm the words that are being thrown around are is straight up a hole. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the word to describe him.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely much different from in that perspective. G-Man, anything in particular that you were wanting to hit on with this topic?
Well, I mean, I don't know. 8 teams, coachless teams. There's a lot of open slots, and I know that the Eagles um, defensive coordinator. Sorry, like I know my own team. Um, Jonathan Gannon has. There was words that the Bears are looking into him as potentially being a head coach,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of interesting. But there's a lot of uh, wiggle room with some of these coaching positions because there's defensive coordinators being thrown into head coaching. There's offensive coordinators being thrown into head coaching. So we'll just have to see in next season uh, where a lot of these teams land. But 8 in one season, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess one thing I wanted to jump into too is the biggest opportunity you guys may see with some of those openings. There's a couple teams that have a pretty decent roster, pretty solid foundation potentially for a coach to come in. One of them, I don't know, Jaguars. I mean, it's going to be tough regardless, but they are coming in with what the number one seed pick next year. So that head coach has some back in there. From your perspective, G Man, do you think there's one team that kind of stands out? If you if you were a head coach perspective right now, what team would you want to go to? I can list them if you need a whole list.
If you out of the 8 teams,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
probably the Raiders. Probably the Raiders. I'm just saying the Raiders. But look, Miami not in playoffs. Texans not in playoffs. Giants not in playoffs. Bears not in playoffs. Vikings not in playoffs. Broncos not in playoffs. And the Jaguars definitely aren't in playoffs. The only team that's in playoffs right now are the Raiders. They're a
Sure.
playoff team. They're a playoff team. Are they not a playoff team? I mean, they're there, right? Dolphins didn't make it. They were close. They just didn't make it. So yeah, Raiders.
Fair enough. It's true statement. I like your take there, Finn. You seem to completely disagree. I'll give you some time.
Well, number one, I don't think the Raiders are really fair to say that they have a head coach opening. I think they're going to keep the guy who is made them a playoff team. Their interim head coach will become their permanent head coach. So even with that, even if that opening is there, if I'm a well-liked candidate and I get to choose where I want to go, I'm going to Denver. Why would you not? They have an elite defense, one of the best defenses in the league, a
Yeah.
really strong offensive line, a great wide receiving core. They're lacking one position. And I don't know if you know this or not, but there's apparently two quarterbacks out there named Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, two guys, just regular old guys that don't want to be there at their current team.
But
You can go out and possibly get one of them. Fix the quarterback, and you have a Super Bowl contender, not just a team that's going to be a one and done in the playoffs.
my argument to that is you are a new head coach to a team backed by Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. It They have some pull in the team. Obviously, Bruce Arians, Bruce Arians
Mm,
for
yeah.
the Tampa Bay. He's competing. He's Tom Brady's like right there. Like there's two head coaches on the team half the time. So like you get an Aaron Rodgers and it's your first year there. I don't know if it's gonna play out that well for you as head coach.
I'll give you a name that worked out really well. Something like called Tony Dungy, who left the Bucks, got fired from the Bucks, went to Indianapolis, had some quarterback named Peyton Manning, and he went to two Super Bowls and won one. It certainly can be done. It has been done. It will be done if they can get themselves a very even a good quarterback. I'm not even talking about an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson. If they can go out and get a top 15 guy through either through the draft, through a trade, or whatever, they are a playoff contender. If they get a top 10 quarterback, they are a Super Bowl contender. This is a complete roster. And they have some cap to spend. They've locked up their wide receivers, they've locked up their young defense. I mean, this is a team that the one drawback is that they have to face Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes twice, and Justin Herbert twice. That is the drawback, but you'd have to do that in Oakland or Las Vegas as well.
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess
I
I
think
say
well with some of the veteran quarterbacks, I think like you're mentioning with Tony Dungy and Bruce Arians, they're seasoned head coaches coming in and dealing with a seasoned quarterback. It would be interesting if you had Tom Brady join a team with like a second or third year head coach. I don't think he ever would, but could you imagine trying to manage Tom Brady when he knows what he wants, he knows how he wants to run the offense, and you're trying to put it in your own scheme while that's going on? It could be tricky.
I personally believe that the Broncos are going to get Dan Quinn, who
Hmm.
is a seasoned coach who has put together a great coaching staff in Atlanta and has been to a Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective. Again, I will say one big question mark with the Denver Broncos is can they get the quarterback? Just because
Yep.
it's rumored that Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are available does not mean Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson's available. There is a quarterback that's available named Carson Wentz, but that's maybe the caliber that you'd have to go out and risk your future on. And that's the case, then yeah, that's a bit more skeptical.
I know this is a good segue, but I just shot myself in the foot by saying this because I'm pretty sure Green Bay's head coach is a new coach, is it not?
Uh, he he was originally when he came in with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think he had any head coach experience.
Yeah. I think isn't this his first season or no?
No,
No. Hmm,
third, I believe.
got it. Regardless, you came in with Aaron Rodgers, so you know.
It was such a nice segue. Come on, you ruined the
I
segue.
know. I'm
I was
sorry.
I
I
put
had
the
to
ball on a tee for sick, man.
listen. If you want to talk about Carson Wentz, we can talk about Carson Wentz, but there's not much to talk about, man.
Yeah, you did. It's fair. We'll find a way to get back into it. But yes, that was the next topic here. One of the things that I picked up this week, and I figured would be a good topic. I know, G-Man, you have some experience here, and you may be, I don't know, smiling to the bank with this one. Indy, uh, man, horrible ending to their season. They looked promising. They were coming back. They were making a run for it. And the last game of the season, uh, they just drop everything on the field, man. They did not pull off the win like they needed. In fact, it was pretty terrible game from that perspective. But kind of the story coming out of that is Carson Wentz. Um, you know, losing to the Jaguars in the one game you need to win for the season. Carson Wentz, I believe, throwing the pick six there. So I don't know. I was rooting for the Colts. I wanted them to uh, showcase what they had to make it to the playoffs and be able to potentially go a little bit further. But yeah, it's not the case. So yeah, if G-Man, you want to kick into some of the Carson Wentz, yeah, I know one of the things I had read, which would make me feel, I don't know, not very great as a quarterback, is basically a head coach talking about how they thought he was the correct pick at the time, thought he was the man for the job, maybe reevaluating that at this time. So yeah, G-Man, if you want to jump into your thoughts on the ending to the Colts
It
season,
is so funny how the beginning of the season where Eagles aren't doing very good, how many times I've heard, man, you should have kept Wentz. Look how good he's doing. Man, you should have kept Wentz. Look how good he's doing. And then you blow your season with Wentz against the Jaguars, who have the number one pick in the draft. I just, is there a better like irony there? I just don't know. You know, but we got their 19th pick in the draft, their first round. So hey, I can't really complain.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's almost. I mean, I have like, I know I've talked about this on the podcast before. I tend to group people together, and he's like Andy Dalton to me. Like some of those quarterbacks, it's like, man, he's doing great. Why would you not want him as a quarterback? And then the next week he throws 4 interceptions, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why I don't.
He, to me, from what I've seen, he just doesn't know when to get rid of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know when to get rid of the ball. He holds it too long, gets sacked. He's just, and you know that, the Colts, they have weapons. There's no reason why he should be holding on to the ball that long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's not like he's trying to drag this team on his bootstraps. He has they have the best running back in the league, pending Derrick Henry having a full season. But yeah, I agree with you. Finn, your thoughts on the ending of that season?
I mean, huge choke job by the Colts when the GM says we thought it was the right move to trade for him and we aren't going to list him as a starter. Uh, that's not a good sign as a starting quarterback. I certainly wouldn't be buying real estate. I'd probably start looking to see what the housing market looks like. It's it's rough, and I congratulations Eagles getting a first round pick and a whole lot of salary cap relief. But Carson Wentz now is a mid tier to below tier quarterback, and that's just what he is. He turns the ball over too much. He's Jameis Winston without as high of highs.
Hmm. Yeah, lower ceiling. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I don't think any of us here were necessarily. I mean, surprised about the game, sure. Surprised about why the game went that way, maybe not so much.
Surprised that Indianapolis Colts weren't in playoffs? Yeah, very
Mm-hmm.
surprised.
Yeah.
Very surprised. That on paper, that was an easy game to win. That was their game to win. I don't think
I,
anybody picked the Jags to be like, oh, hey, Jags are shoe in.
But here's the problem, though. Sometimes teams just have an opposing team's number. The Dolphins beat New England year after year after year when the Dolphins were terrible and New England was winning Super Bowls. The
Mm-hmm.
Colts have yet to win in Jacksonville since like 2004. I don't remember the exact year, but it's been a long time. For some reason, they do not travel to Jacksonville and play well. It could just be as simple as that's a bad matchup for them.
No,
True.
definitely. It reminds me of the Saints. We just can't. We just can't score points when we go and play the Saints.
Exactly. And so sometimes that just happens. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm not saying you can lose that game. The Colts have to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
That game's got to be won 100 out of 100 times. I'm going to say this. I believe there are certain losses and certain things that are fireable offenses. When Jason Light traded up into the second round to draft a kicker, fireable offense. When Brian Flores lost to Jacksonville in London, fireable offense. Trading a first round pick for and a lot of money for Carson Wentz, fireable offense.
The Eagles are just loving it, though. Just loving it. That's one of two that we got. So good. So good.
All
Not
right.
going to mention the second one, so you don't have to worry about it.
All right. We'll move on here. I think we've fleshed that out quite a bit. Unfortunate to see again. I was kind of rooting for them to show up into the playoffs, but it's what happens in the NFL. You just never know what's going to occur. But yeah, we can jump into some of our picks. I know we want to go over the. We'll probably cover every game this weekend just for some quick. There's not too many of them. But we'll go over our previous picks from the last week of the regular season as well, and potentially jump into what our records look like at the end of the season. So for some of our locks, none of us pulled off our lock this week, which maybe isn't so. Maybe that's what was expected. It was the last week. Last week's always crazy. I feel it's more upset heavy than probably any other week. But yeah, we'll start off with G-Man. You picked Rams over the 49ers. I picked the 49ers as my upset. Um, 49ers did win in overtime. Went down and got the game winning touchdown there. So, G-Man, your thoughts on that game? Did you happen to catch most of that game?
I
It was a
did
crazy
actually
game.
catch most of that game. Going into overtime, man, I was just like, I need them to score. But you know what? They pulled it off, and good for the 49ers. Good for the 49ers because I would love to see my division rival lose to them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
thought
were they in regardless?
the
They
Rams
were in
Oh,
were.
no,
regardless.
the 49ers, no.
They needed the win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Rams were in regard. I mean, clearly
Hmm.
they were in regardless. Yeah,
Yeah.
49ers needed that win. Yeah, that I mean, the last probably the whole last half of that game was insane, but especially the last like 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. The Rams drove down and scored. The 49ers then came back and did the same thing to them and tied it up. And then, of course, the interception at the end of the game for Matthew Stafford, which I don't know. He was just throwing that ball up regardless. I don't know. I guess at the end of the game, you kind of, I think it was like third and long, so trying to get something going. But man,
If
tough
if they would
tough
have
way to lose.
if they would have scored, I would have covered. Just saying, I would have covered with a score.
But alas, it didn't happen.
But alas, you got the win, and I got the L.
um,
Story of my life.
Jumping into mine, I'm pretty sure like I have Colts over Jags here by 15 points. I'm pretty sure I meant Jags over Colts by 15 points. So it's probably just a typo on that part. Yeah, I
If I
didn't.
Yeah,
was
that was.
here, if I was here last week, I would have been like, "Man, 15 points, that's a lot."
I believe I said that.
Did you?
I believe I said that. Yeah, there's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
if you
points, but the Colts, I mean, they just were destroyed.
I just don't know if you. I mean, you look at that, you're like, "Yeah, obviously 15. Take that."
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
it's the
Colts.
Jaguars.
Yeah, it's Colts over Jaguars. Why? I don't know. And the fact it just it hurts even more that they lost by 15 points.
If you knew the stat that they haven't beat them at home since 2004, if that is the correct stat, would you have picked it?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like if I had known that, I might have, just out of superstition, I might have stayed away from that game.
I mean, just like you were talking about the Saints, like
Mm.
that's the track record's there.
I
Like,
meant 2014. I forgot the one.
ah,
2014.
2014. Still,
They were dating what? That's 8 years. 8 years since the last win there. Yeah, that's true. That's actually one thing I brought up last week for for my pick was um, Jimmy Garoppolo has never lost to the Rams. He's now 6-0 against the Rams, which is I don't know another one of those interesting tidbits there. Um, yeah, another of what you thought would be a definitive Titans against the Texans. Walk us through that one, Finn.
At least the team that I picked to win won. I just would like to point out that at least the team I picked to win did in fact win. The Texans showed a lot of heart. They did their best. They tried hard, uh, and they battled. And it looked at one point that they had a chance to win. Unfortunately for them, Ryan Tannehill led with AJ Brown and Julio Jones getting in the mix was just too much for them, and Titans pulled out the win. But it was closer than what anybody expected. Um, their head coach being fired was kind of a surprise to me after 1 year, and the fact that they were competitive in a lot of their games
Hmm.
with Texans, that is. Titans, dangerous team moving forward. They get the bye week, which was an important game for them to win, and they're going to get Derrick Henry back. So, positives to take away. They won a sloppy game. Nobody got hurt, and now they're set up nicely for a playoff run. But it hurt my lock of the week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was one of. I mean, the Texans did not. The season was not in their favor. There were a lot of injuries and other. I mean, I wouldn't say they're a contender regardless, but I think once they moved to Mills, the last couple games of the season, they showed some promise heading into next year.
You want to hear some major takeaway that you're going to be shocked to hear from me from?
Go ahead.
David Mills, best rookie starting quarterback this year.
Interesting.
Hmm.
The way they played this year. Now, I'm not saying about the future. The way they played this year, he was the best rookie quarterback this year. Better than Mac Jones. Mac Jones was just in a better situation.
Is it just because you don't like the guy, or
When
I'd
you
be?
win a game by throwing three passes, you start to lose a lot of credibility.
I
I
know,
watched
but
Mac
that
Jones
was
play.
one game. That
I
was one game. Hold on, that was one game. I'm not defending the Patriots, but they are in playoffs, and you
look at
know,
the talent
like
on that look at the talent on each roster, and you tell me which is the better team and which was better coached. You've got the Patriots and you have the Texans. The Patriots have a better offensive line, a better run game, push on the wide receivers. They have better tight ends. They have a much better defensive line, much better secondary, much better linebacker, and a much better coach. Mac Jones was subpar. I've seen a lot of Mac Jones. I watched, unfortunately, get a lot of New England games. Mac Jones is not a very good quarterback.
but my problem here is the Texans won a total of 4 games.
Win, wins and losses is not a QB stat.
Yes, but
Wins and losses is not a QB stat. By
QBs,
that, Justin
QBs,
Herbert,
QBs can make or break a team, can they not?
absolutely. But Justin Herbert didn't make the playoffs, and Herbert is a top 10 quarterback.
He
But
was
do you need a
this
top 10
close.
quarterback? I mean, if you're winning games and getting to the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl, does it matter if your quarterback's top 10?
I'm saying that Mills is a better quarterback than Mac Jones. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. This year, Mills was a better quarterback than Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to get the accolades. Mac Jones is going to get the credit. Mills played better.
So if Mac Jones was on the Texans, you don't see him getting more than 4 wins?
No way.
Oh yeah, I do. I do.
I don't even know if they get four.
Mm, I don't know. I think he's a better quarterback. I think you're wrong. But that guy will never play for the Pats, so Mac Jones is the new Tom Brady, apparently.
According to the media.
All I remember so this whole conversation just reminds me of Trent Dilfer. Just a reminder, Trent Dilfer is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
And my number one pick of why you can't go off of Super Bowl wins as a QB stat. If you go by that, then people will take Trent Dilfer over Dan Marino. Dan Marino, one of the top five best quarterbacks to ever step on the football field,
Hmm.
doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Trent Dilfer cut the year after he wins a Super Bowl with the Ravens because wins is not a QB stat.
Yeah, but you take Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay, you get Boyle, and your team becomes hot garbage and can't win games or barely.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. A quarterback can elevate a team, but
very
just
much.
because that you can win games, you don't need the elite quarterback. Mac Jones won games because Mac Jones did what he needed to do. Rely on the defense, rely on the run game. Don't screw up too bad. Put Mills in that situation, and New England is a better team.
You have bottom of the division, Super Bowl contender.
They're not a Super Bowl contender. New
Green
England is
Bay,
not a Super
Green
Bowl
Bay,
contender.
Green Bay, Green Bay is. If you had Boyle all season, bottom. Super Bowl contender.
I'm not talking about Green Bay. I said
I'm
Mills is a better rookie quarterback than Mac Jones.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Rodgers.
But the Texans aren't in playoffs, buddy.
All
I
right.
don't care.
I'm
As host, we're going in circles. We're gonna
Listen,
do,
no. You got to be
We're-
the mediator. Who? What? Like you're the third guy. What do you think?
here's my thought. That there has to be someone on the team, on the staff, that's going to take the team to the next level. Doesn't matter to me, at least. Apparently, Jonathan Taylor didn't do that. But let's look at the quarterback and head coach, right? New England, probably the best head coach, if not the best head coach ever. He's pulling that team along with him. Matt Jones may not be a great quarterback, but he's making him look like a good quarterback. He's making his team win just by what he's choosing as a head coach. Look at Houston. Houston just fired their coach, but Finn believes it's one of the best rookie quarterbacks, if not the best rookie quarterback.
This year, I career arc. I'm not saying he's going to be the best.
I heard
This year.
he's going to be a top 5 quarterback of all time. That's what I heard coming out of him.
That's funny. Listen, but here's the thing. What's God? Not Andy Dalton. I'm blanking.
Justin
I'm blanking.
Fields? Trevor
No,
Lawrence?
he was on the Jets.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Yeah.
Mhm.
Didn't he have a pretty good run? I mean,
Nope.
no.
He had a
I
couple,
thought when he switched
couple
teams,
good games.
he had a pretty good run, and
I
then
mean, he had a game or two. I wouldn't say it's a good run.
yeah, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know enough about that guy, but from what I thought he had a good run. What do I know?
You're an Eagles fan. You don't know anything.
True.
All
You
right.
did know about the Raiders. I'll give you that pick.
I was gonna say, if we're jumping back in, we're in the upsets now. And G-Man, you did pick the Raiders over the Chargers.
Yeah. So it was a win and you're in, right?
Yeah, it was very, very close game as well. I believe that one was also overtime.
They both could have win in, which would have made Finn's stat where Justin Herbert didn't make playoffs irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But Raiders beat the Chargers. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that one was.
It was a fun game. It didn't look like the Chargers were going to be able to do much of anything. Fourth quarter hits, I fall asleep. Chargers magic hits. They get into overtime. Things are looking really good for the tie to kick Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. And instead, the timeout heard around the world happens. The Raiders pick up 10 yards on a run. They get a 46-yard field goal up, and it's good. And they move on. And Justin Herbert goes home.
Yeah, that was. Like you said, I feel like that's the Chargers' MO to just wait till the fourth quarter and then decide to start playing the game. But yeah, it was definitely an exciting finish. But I'm not too surprised. The Raiders also seem this season to be pulling out those wins when they probably shouldn't be.
True that.
All right. In essence of time, we did already cover mine, but Finn, you picked Pittsburgh over Baltimore.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. Big Ben wasn't going to lose his last game of the regular season to his division rival.
Hmm. Yeah, the the last couple of weeks, the Ravens have I don't know, they haven't been looking too great there.
All the injuries caught up to him.
Hmm.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, it'll be
Quarterback can only carry the team on his back for so long, but
for sure. Yeah, I mean that's yeah. Unfortunate. I know as a team, a lot of people, even some of us, were looking forward to watching this season, and it just didn't pan out quite that way. Yeah, we'll move into our teams for the last game of the season. I guess I'll kick it off. There's not much on my side. Bucks against the Panthers. Panthers didn't have much to play for. Bucks really didn't have much to play for either. But we did pull out the win. Again, it wasn't anything. I wasn't too worried about that particular scoreline, and yeah, I think we won by 20 something, 30 something points. So yeah, it wasn't much of a game. I watched the first, I think, 3 quarters, and then kind of turned it off from there. Nothing super exciting on that front. Um, but we'll save Finn's last hurrah for the end. G-Men,
listen,
Dallas, and
okay,
Eagles.
listen. I picked Dallas, okay, because I knew that with the clinch of the playoff spot, they're going to rest players. What did
Sure.
they do? They
Uh-huh.
rested players. It's pre-season. It's like you're facing a preseason team, scoring 50 points on them, and then you're celebrating. Like you just, I don't know. Like I have a buddy who is a Dallas fan, and he was
Lord.
just ecstatic. He was like, "Look how many points we scored against you." I'm like, dude, we had Gardner Minshew in with a bunch of no names. Like we're resting players. That's why you scored 50 points against us. You know, I don't know. I went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. Exactly how I thought it was gonna go. So there you have it. I still cover because I picked Dallas.
Picking your favorite team, I understand that.
Yeah,
We'll see how well that argument holds true this week. Before we
I'm ready
jump
for the
in,
last hurrah here.
yeah, before we jump into that, Finn, your thoughts on the Dolphins and the Patriots?
This is a big rival game. There was a lot to play for. I thought this was Brian Flores' career on the line. It turned out to not matter. The Dolphins did exactly what the Dolphins are expected to do against rookie quarterbacks, and that's make them look pathetic. Mac Jones throws a pick six early on the game. Xavier Howard just is a beast. It was a really bad showing by New England in a game that looked could have been a must win game for them. Mac Jones did what Mac Jones does and has done all year. When they get down, he struggles, and that's what they did. They pulled it in close. Miami pulled away at the end. Tua made enough plays. The run game was strong, and that was that. Miami took care of business. They beat up the Patriots both games this year, and I was very shocked to see Brian Flores fired after going 2-0 against New England. And did I mention Mac Jones looked like a rookie out there?
I think maybe once or twice you did, yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those teams. I mean, we had mentioned that they have New England's number most of the time, especially when New England's going down to Miami.
When I saw the Dolphins were a 6 point underdog, I said, "There's no way I'm not taking Miami."
Hmm, yeah, for sure. All right, that just leaves this week to jump into some of the playoff games. So we have 6, of course, this weekend. So I'll kind of we'll of course save probably our Philly Tampa game for last. We'll jump in first. The game that I think I heard G Man refer to as who would want to watch that game, Raiders and Bengals. So G Man, would you like to kick us off for that one?
Listen, like you said, Raiders kind of find a way to win. I'm going with the Raiders on this one. Bengals. I love Joe Burrow. I think he's done pretty dang well this season, but is he playoff? Is he like, playoffs is different. I mean, I know that Derek Carr doesn't see a lot of playoffs either, but you know, I the Raiders are just. I think they're moving on here.
That's fair. Yeah, this one's a tough one for me because I agree that there's a certain maybe mystique with the Raiders joining the playoffs there. I still can't vote against Burrow and what he's been doing the last couple weeks though. So my vote's for the Bengals on that front. I think that offense has been ticking the last couple weeks, and to say that they're not going to go out and smash the Raiders, I don't know. I think that's what's going to occur. Finn, your take on that one?
Cincinnati could be a team that represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that because they're one of a few teams that made the playoffs. They have the defense and the offense to be able to play against any of the opponents in the AFC. The Raiders do not. So I think the Bengals run away with this. It'll be interesting to see how Joe Burrow plays in the spotlight. He did it at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to do it on the big stage now in the NFL with Jamar Chase. Their offensive line is their weakness, and will the Raiders be able to take advantage of that? I don't think so. So I think the Cincinnati walks out of this. I know it's a 5.5 point spread, but that just goes to show you that traveling to Cincinnati after playing a must-win game the way they did, Bengals all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree there. Um, Jumping into this one was another interesting pick for me. New England traveling to Buffalo. Um, I really want to vote for Buffalo here, and it also really scares me to vote for Buffalo. I think New England has a good team against the way Buffalo likes to play, but we did get a preemptive view of this a couple weeks ago, and of course a couple weeks before that with the Windy City Bowl. But I think Buffalo comes out again. They beat New England a couple weeks ago. I think they'll come out again and do the same. Um, but it does scare me because they seem to crumble a little bit under the pressure, and it's which team's going to show up this week. But yeah, I want Buffalo wins, so that's who I'm going to pick for that game. Finn, we'll kick over to you first for that one.
The reports that I just read through CBS Sportsline is that the Bills defense is absolutely still furious that the Patriots were able to win in a game where Mac Jones threw 3 passes. They took that and they are ticked. They don't just dislike New England, they want to stomp them in the ground. They want to bury them. They want to make Mac Jones look like the rookie quarterback that he is. I would not be putting a single penny on New England in this game. No way. Best quarterback's going to come out winning this game. It's going to be cold, but it is not windy. So the ball will be able to be thrown around. So let's see if weak arm Mac Jones can throw the ball this time more than 3 passes in Buffalo.
Hmm. Yeah, Buffalo's found a little bit of the running game the last couple weeks, so could be scary if they did everything in motion there.
The one hiccup that I would like to say about the Buffalo Bills, their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are both being interviewed from multiple teams about head coaching positions.
Mm-hmm.
Will their focus be split at all? That would be the only thing that would make me hesitant about the Bills. Other than that, I think this is going to be a lopsided victory for Buffalo, and it's not even going to be that close.
Fair enough. I like the pick. G-Man, your thoughts?
Listen, last time the Pats and the Bills faced each other, Bills won 33-21. I Bills, it's hard for me because like when it matters, when it's a game that matters, they come up short sometimes. But this is playoffs. You have one of the greatest coaches to ever coach and a future Tom Brady in your midst. And I'm going to bet against all that and pick the Bills to beat the Pats.
You had me going for a second.
I know. Listen,
okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I don't know. What can I say?
That's okay,
A lot
Finn.
of times I like to go with, but when it comes to picking teams, especially playoffs, if I'm hesitant about the matchup, I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback. And if anybody in their right mind says Mac Jones is the better quarterback than Josh Allen, then they need to get tested or put in an asylum for losing their mind. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
All right. Moving. I think that maybe that's the. I really don't know what direction that game could go. That's one of the games I'd be interested in watching. It could be a
What did you
blowout.
pick? What did we all pick the same, or did you pick the
We
Pats?
we all
Okay.
picked Buffalo.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Jumping into another very interesting one, for me at least, 49ers and Cowboys. This is one I really think is going to be one of the upset games. I think 49ers could come in and take on the Cowboys. Man, the Cowboys, for the struggles they had through mid-season, late season, they definitely picked it up. Um, this is tough for me. I'm gonna hold off my pick. G-Man will let you go first. I think I have an idea who you're gonna pick, but I'll let you jump in here.
Listen. Okay. Said it once. Said it before. Dallas, when it matters, they choke. They choke. I can't pick Dallas here. I can't
Really?
even as good as they are, and I know they're good. They'll choke. I'm picking the 49ers to beat the Cowboys here.
Interesting.
So, and I'll be alone in it, but I'm saying the way that the 49ers just put away the Rams, I don't think the Cowboys are that caliber. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
prove me
think
wrong.
that was one thing for myself watching that last game 49ers is they can play the full game. They can go the full term with someone, a good playoff team as well with the Rams. Finn, your pick?
49ers are unique. They can do things in multiple ways. They can run the ball inside, they can run the ball outside. They can attack the middle of the field, they can attack down the seam. Adebo Samuel is a beast and a monster and can do it all in both the run game and pass game. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a very good quarterback. You look at Dallas, they have defensive player of the year, in my opinion, and Micah Parsons, rookie linebacker. They have Dak Prescott, who is a very talented wide receiver, and they've got three very good three very good wide receivers. I think there's too much hype and too many people talking 49ers over Dallas. If you're Dallas, you're the players, you're hearing all this, right? All you're doing is seeing the disrespect, seeing everybody pick the 49ers. They are going to be amped to win this game. They are the 4 seed. They are the division winners in the NFC least for a reason. I fully expect Dallas to beat San Francisco. It's going to be a close game. I understand why it's a 3-point line. It should be close, but at the end of the day, I don't see how Dallas loses this game. Not this week.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be alone in this, but I was a little surprised. I think the 49ers are going to win as well. Um, I think they have something going. I think they have a little momentum, and I think they like being the underdog. I think they like coming in and knocking people off. I don't think they're going to move on past probably this week. But yeah, unless the Cowboys come out firing on all cylinders, I think the 49ers are going to go toe to toe with them. All right. jumping into another interesting game, Rams and Cardinals. So this week, both these teams kind of, to me, fell off towards the end of the season. Cardinals, for sure, it seems like a different team than what we saw in the beginning of the season. Man, it's hard for me to pick the Cardinals for any of these playoff games moving forward. And the Rams, I think to me, the Rams have a couple pieces they really need to put in place. One of the things I'd really like to see is, Odell Beckham starting to mesh with the offense and starting. He was pretty much non-existent against the 49ers. Um, but if they can get him going, if they can get some of the other pieces that they put in place with Donald, with Von Miller, some people they brought in this season, they could go all the way to Super Bowl. If they can't get all those meshing, who knows what is going to happen. So my vote this week, Rams over Cardinals. Finn, over to you.
This is one of those games that was probably the hardest one for me to pick because I like the Arizona team. I like them when they have Hopkins, but Hopkins is out. The Rams are the team that I want to say is the complete team. You saw them beat up Tampa early in the year. They've had a nice little win streak in the middle of the season. Stafford seemed to get it together, and then they just seem to falter at random times, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. They had the pieces. Not every home team is going to win. It doesn't happen in the playoffs, right? With that said, I also am picking the Rams to continue this home. I've so far picked every home team, and I just don't see how the Rams lose to Arizona. I mean, Arizona lost last week. I believe they lost last week. They've lost a bunch of games. They've lost something like three of their last five or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those aren't good teams, and they are a different team without Hopkins. Give them Hopkins, they win this game. Without Hopkins, I don't think they have the firepower.
Yeah, they lost to Russell Wilson last week. If that
Right.
says much. All right, G-Man, you're the last pick here. What are your thoughts?
All right, my thoughts are I got to go with the Rams because, if you would have asked me when they were 7-0, I probably would have been like, oh my God, who's going to beat that team? But the later the season went on, the more they just struggled. And I know that they're here, but are they going to stay? I, I don't see them beating the Rams after what the Rams just did to the 49ers,
Mm-hmm.
or the 49ers. Well, the game.
Yeah.
I know they didn't win, but they put up a fight, and I don't see that from the Cardinals when I
Mm-hmm.
look at them. So I think the Rams.
Yeah, I think that's what scares me with the Rams. If if Matthew Stafford gets in that position where he has to carry the team, I think that's where a lot of times I see him falter. That last drive that you really need to go down, score a touchdown, get in field goal range, he just seems to blunder it. So hopefully they can figure that out, and hopefully again kind of get Odell a little involved there because I think that's going to help him especially.
That's
Um,
another thing, man. Like in that game at the end, they were just trying to pass it to Odell so much, and they just couldn't get the catch. Like,
mm,
and they kept doing it like 3 times in a row, and he just could not catch that ball. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
yeah, yeah.
You have so many weapons, and you're trying to get it in Odell's hands. Is he the only one open right now? Like,
Mm,
hopefully in this game versus the Cardinals, they're not gonna be that generous.
yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. A little tunnel vision there, especially Cup had an amazing game, and he's had an amazing season. So
Mm.
utilizing him, he's got to be dead tired at the end of those games.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll jump into this game. I felt was maybe a little one-sided. I really didn't have to think much about this one. Chiefs, Steelers. I picked the Chiefs. I really don't think there's going to be too much a pushback from the Steelers in this one. Chiefs have kind of gotten it together the last couple of weeks, the last half of the season maybe. So I think with their weapons, with their team, I don't think Steelers can just stand up to them. I worked with a couple of people from Kansas City, and they were posting flyers for come to Big Ben's retirement party this weekend. So they're looking forward to the game for sure. G man, your pick for this game.
Um, if you look at the start of the season, the Steelers killed it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll close the fantasy book on that. You know, Big Ben, he's out. He's done. Kansas City all the way. This game, if there's one blowout game, this is the game right here. It's that 12.5 point spread. It's probably more like 14-15. So, happy retirement, Big Ben. I hope that you find a job or sit on the couch and eat chicken wings. I don't know, but enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been a long time since the beginning of the season, but I'm glad you came to your senses there. All right.
Yeah, well, I had to pull out something like I was gonna pick the Steelers and I couldn't do it with a straight face. So
All right, Finn, your pick for this game.
I wanted the tie in the Chargers game because I wanted the Chargers to eliminate Pittsburgh. I wanted Big Ben to go out with a win against his division rival and sail off into the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Miami got to witness Dan Marino's last game and a lopsided loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. And it's kind of the last moment that a lot of fans have of Don Shula and of Dan Marino. Actually, Don Shula, I think, had already retired. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This was a heartbreaking loss, and it was very sad. This is going to be the same kind of thing. I'm sorry, Big Ben. I wanted you to go out on top. I just hope it's not a total embarrassment. I hope the defense kind of keeps it somewhat close. But Pittsburgh's done. They don't have anything. The offense looks old. It looks slow. They're definitely in a rebuild, and I don't know how they're going to fix it. But yeah, Kansas City all the way.
We've been pretty much on the same page for most of these, so it's going to be interesting going over these next week. Um, yeah, our track record for all picking the same teams is not great.
Thank goodness that we have a couple different ones.
Yeah, this is true. All right, game of the week. We have been looking forward to this, and we did it in a playoff win or go home situation.
yeah,
I say we let Finn. I say we
let
let Finn.
Finn
Yes.
first. Yes,
All right,
please.
Finn, the floor is yours.
First off, I want to talk about Tampa itself. We are ridden with COVID, so if you are an old man playing quarterback at your current position, good luck. No, all right. Let's get real. The weather's going to be crappy. It's going to be rainy, and it's going to be cold for Florida standards. It's going to be like 50s, 60s.
Mm-hmm.
That does not bode well for the Buccaneers offense. My uncle, he sent out a tweet to a Joe Bucks fan and Ira Kaufman and said, "Hey, the weather, the forecast. You think this plays a role?" And Ira Kaufman, I think it's Ira Kaufman, responds back and says, "No, because Brady is hungry." And my response to that was, "Yeah, so feed the dude. He's old. Make him eat. Put the food through a blender if you need to." I don't understand this whole Brady's hungry and absolutely needs to win at all costs. The dude's got like 15 Super Bowl rings at this point. I don't understand that mentality. But here's what I do know. The Eagles run the ball really, really well. They are built to run the ball. Miles Sanders is playing. They're built to run the ball. The Bucks defense is designed to stop the run. The Bucks secondary is weak. The Eagles wide receivers are weak. Jalen Hurts, not the best thrower, but is a runner. The linebacking core of Tampa is a little banged up. and has shown signs of weakness. That to me is going to be key. Does Levante David play, and can they maintain and control the pocket and keep Hurts from escaping the pocket and hurting the Buccaneers defense? I'm interested in how the Eagles front seven matches up against the Bucks front five. The Bucks offensive line is elite. It is very, very good. You know that Mike Evans is very good, and you've seen some of these other wide receivers show off skill sets. The speedster Scotty Miller, but they also have a long list of injuries at wide receiver, with Grayson having his hammy, and so they're going to be relying on Mike Evans. They're going to be relying on Scotty Miller, and they're going to be relying on Gronk, but they're going to have to lean on Leonard Fournette. Will they be able to run the ball effectively against that front seven? That's the big question. I know that the Eagles have a good run defense. I, my take, home team wins again. I I don't know how the Bucks lose. They're the more talented team. They have the better players. They have the better skill sets, and they've been here before. Ultimately, it goes down to quarterback for me. When the game is on the line and you need to go down the field, do you trust Brady throwing to Mike Evans, or do you trust Hurts throwing to Devontae Smith? So that's kind of my takeaway. Ultimately, I do think the Bucks got the sorry, G-Man, gets the worst team that made the playoffs.
Hmm. Even though you've been saying the 49ers suck so bad this season, and now
The,
they're in
the 40
playoffs.
the 49ers, one of the things that they do well is that they can do everything decent. I've never been a big 49ers fan in terms of thinking that they're an elite team, but they do a lot well. When I look at the Eagles, they don't do a lot well. They do a couple things exceptionally well, but they don't do everything well. And their strengths, unfortunately, match up against the Bucks' strengths, and their weaknesses are abundantly clear. And so I need to see something from Jalen Hurts. He's going to have to throw the ball and win this game with his arm, and I don't think he has it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that was a damn good preview. Not much for me to add. I mean, I think the one thing I wanted to hit on, which you even went on, is David and Fournette. Both are game time decisions. Both to me are pivotal if we're going to win the game. David's a huge linebacker for us, one of the top guys on our defense in terms of tackles and everything else. I think he's pivotal if we can get him back. And Fournette, of course, as well. Our run game's just not the same without the workhorse there. Um, and I'm not too worried about wide receiver. Yeah, it's not ideal the situation we're in. But having Gronk, having Evans, those are two people you can rely on. Those are just those two alone tend to be enough for what we need. But I do agree. I think ultimately a lot of our strengths match up with the Eagles' strengths and vice versa. And I think ultimately Eagles just won't be able to keep up with the points that we're going to put on the board. So I think even though we may go toe to toe, I think Bucks will just keep putting points on the board, and Eagles just won't be able to match that. So yeah, I mean, my vote, of course, is Buccaneers this weekend. G-Man, I'll give you the final word on the game.
Okay. I need you to clear your mind, hop in a time machine with me, all the way back to when the Eagles versus the Bucks faced the first time, and the Buccaneers were insanely healthy team, and it was 28-22, and the Eagles didn't know how to run the ball, and you had Tom Brady, Ronald Jones II, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. The list goes on. I now fast forward. We do know how to run the ball. We beat the number one rush defense in the league, which was the Saints at the time, by running. Uh, you know, it's hard for me to just be like, I know I have a bias, and any of the sane person, you'd be like, hey, Bucks all the way. But there's a little part of me that doesn't think that this is going to be an easy game for the Buccaneers. I think that with running the ball, it isn't going to be enough. My One of the big weaknesses for the Eagles is time of possession, and I think that if time of possession is heavily favored by Tampa Bay, it's going to wear down our defense, and they're just going to run away with the game. That being said, I'm still picking the Eagles to beat the Bucks in a twist ending. I think that, it doesn't fare well for me, but if we do pull it off, it's going to be so sweet. It's going to be so sweet because starting it off, I think we were we're a 4-win team, and it was nobody. You look at the team, and it was just a disaster. You got a rookie defensive coordinator, a rookie head coach. Jalen Hurts' accuracy was garbage, and it wasn't looking good for us. But to get here into the playoffs, to face a defending Super Bowl champion, I think that it's great. And I think that if we could pull off a win there, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So Eagles is my pick.
No, I don't fault you. I'd definitely be shocked and saddened if we lose the game. But to say I'm not scared about the game, I mean, it's a playoff game. Anything can happen. But with the Buccaneers' experience, I'm hoping that holds true for us because, like you're saying, I think some of that possession and playing the actual, the analytical side of the game, which Finn and I, I know we jumped into that a little bit. I think that may play a little bit into this game as well, like you were mentioning.
I mean, if you're looking at the first time we've faced off, Tom Brady almost threw for 300 yards, and you look at Jalen Hurts, and it was 115 yards. So, he's come a long way. His accuracy has improved.
Yeah.
But, like Finn was saying, do you trust, the connection between Brady and his players versus Jalen Hurts and his players? There's just no comparison, right? It'll be a hard game, and I think that I'm going to be very mad during that game, but I don't know. It's not as cut and dry as people make it seem. I don't think this is going to be a blowout like everybody thinks it is. It's going to be closer than everybody thinks it is.
When the Buccaneers won their first Super Bowl, they had to go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles to make the Super Bowl. And my dad and my uncle were just loving the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles fans were basically in tears as the Rondé Barber catches the interception and returns it like 90 something yards for a touchdown. There is a very large part of me that wants to see that happen for the Bucks fans, and I want to see the text messages sent from my uncle to my dad where he just is in disbelief of what happened. There's a large part of me rooting for the Eagles in this game because of my disdain and hatred towards Brady. And if you put a gun to my head and said who is going to win, it is put all my money on the Bucks because I just don't see the Eagles having the firepower. And it just boils down to that.
Listen, I'm picking them. I know that the underdog, and I'm gonna probably take an L here, but guess what? It's my bias. I have to go with my team. And guess what? It'll be so sweet. Come back to this podcast with the biggest W when I'm hosting. So the biggest W. But you know what, Nate? I might be just crying the entire time, and you might have to take over sick again So, I don't know.
I would say I may start coming down with something if that were to be the
Yeah,
case.
yeah. Well, I
One thing that I will say right now with 100% certainty, my team will not lose this
listen.
week.
Okay, between you and me, Sick, we'll never have to hear the Dolphins again on this podcast
This is
until
true. We can just
later.
cut
So,
Finn's time by like 5 minutes in his
no
normal.
team picks,
Yeah.
no more Miami team picks. We won't have to talk about anything Miami. It's going to be so great, like a Miami free zone here, and it's good.
It is nice. Yeah, I agree.
Like, beside the only thing that I have now is I have to look at Finn's headquarters, with his dolphin stuff. None of that's gonna say 2022 Super Bowl champion on it, but good try, bud. It's been good. How's that first round pick?
All right.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, we'll jump into final thoughts. Finn looks like he has a final thought on his mind. Finn,
My final thought,
yeah, jump into it.
my final thought is something simple, and that is, as fans of teams that have a losing record, and we want these coaches and GMs fired, just remember that they are people that have uprooted their lives. They have family members that are here, and now they have to just completely abandon that city to go to a different location. Yeah, they're paid millions of dollars to do it, but there is a human aspect that I think it's overlooked. So Brian Flores, while I might have a little bit of bias where I was kind of excited to see you maybe go, I do feel bad from the personal side of it where you have to pack up your family and everyone to leave. With that said, Chris Greer, why were you not fired?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's one thing that's come up with like the fantasy football that is kind of lost that aspect of the game. So definitely a good point. G-Man, throw it to you for final thoughts.
Look, it was a good season. It was a good season for me. I didn't think my team was even anywhere near playoffs, and we did it. Not only did we do it, I won my fantasy football team, and it felt so sweet because it's actually Finn's league, and I came on top, and I've only ever done it 4 times, maybe 5 times, but this is the first time I won the league, so that was nice. Eagles have 3 first-round picks, so win, lose, or draw, that's nice. They're not going to fire, from what it looks like, Jalen Hurts, so we'll still have him as our quarterback. So maybe we can get him into shape, I guess, if that's the word. So I don't know. Like I'm pretty good. Even if we lose, I'm pretty good. So that's my final thought.
I like the
Pretty good
outlook.
season.
Even though it was me and you fighting for that last fantasy playoff spot, still I commend you and congrats on winning the league.
Thanks.
All
I'm not
I
right.
didn't even
congratulating
brag.
him.
I didn't even brag. I didn't brag at all. And Finn, it's just like, oh, you're gonna brag. That's why I don't want you to win. But I still won.
Wait,
And I didn't.
what player was on your team that had like 80 points in the final week that got you to
Oh,
win?
he just so happened to be on the Bengals.
Yeah, the team that's going to
Marseille?
trash the Raiders.
Mm, we'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, appreciate both you joining. As always, it was fun talking, especially heading into the playoffs. So looking forward to some fun games this weekend. Thank you for everyone else that tuned in and chatted in the chat as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in every week, and we will see you next week for the upsets and what may occur over the weekend. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Go Eagles.